Hello everybody and welcome to the first ever 1939 Games Developer AMA. My name is Ólafur Hrafn Steinarsson and I just recently joined the KARDS team here to work on content and tournaments and stuff. And I'm super excited to get to immediately jump in and do this with you guys. Obviously, throughout early access and that whole experience, we were really close with the community, and the community contributed a lot to our game, and we're super grateful for that. And post-launch, we also want to stay, as connected as possible to you guys in the community, because it's ultimately you guys that make the game what it is. And we are so grateful for all your passion and all your excitement about the game coming up. With me is the creative director and founder of 1939 Games, Guðmundur Kristjánsson.
Hi guys, great to be with you.
Welcome. And joining us as well is Ari, what son are you?
Albertsson.
Ari Albertsson. And what's your official title?
CTO.
Oh, Chief Technical Officer. So for everything that is, on the technical side, that's Ari answering those questions.
Full-time employee number 2 of 1939 Games.
You are full-time employee number 1?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, awesome. Well, we posted a Reddit thread yesterday, and a bunch of people asked questions there. And I think we should just get right into it, start talking.
Yes, we can do our best.
So do you guys want to start with future content? Technical, because we have the CTO here. Will we get a functioning reconnect feature at some point?
Yes, we will. We don't have a set date for it, but we are working on it, and we will have a reconnect, yes, that's for sure. And to add on that, we will have, so you can replay your matches, watch like your last matches, that will be in. We haven't set any date for that yet, so there might be some wait for it, but that's a feature that we really want to get in.
Mm-hmm.
And
it touches upon another question I noticed there somewhere about Spectator Mode. That's also
replay and spectate, and that will be basically most likely be a package together, like the reconnect, spectator, and maybe replaying few of your last matches, watch them actually how they were played.
That's awesome. And I'm pretty sure throughout this AMA as well, guys, feel free to shoot your questions and reactions in Twitch chat. We're definitely keeping an eye on that. As you said, there's no dates around this, but it's definitely something we are looking at and understand that there's a need for, right?
Yeah, it's a big need for the reconnect, yes.
That's good. Especially for kind of a large group of our players that are coming from China, right?
Yeah, it's actually one of the biggest single country is China for us. So it's,
we know that they have been having a bit of issues, connectivity issues.
Yes, and of course there is sometimes hard to get packages through, basically.
Yes, yeah.
It's so far away.
Yes, it is very far away. So another question here is, why isn't there an auto mute option? People apparently raging over the voice liners.
If I may take that one, I think we want to kind of highlight all kind of interaction between players and try to strengthen that as much as possible rather than to reduce it. We do realize that of course emotes can
you need to be closer to the mics.
Emotes
you should just lean into it.
Can be abused and can be a little bit irritating sometimes, but we're worried that if we have like a checkbox where you can just turn it off forever, that players might just forget it and leave it off. Most of the games people say like hello and good game at the end of the match, and I think that's a really nice touch, tiny human interaction.
And I think, at least from my perspective, the matches where my opponent says something else, like a well-placed taunt or something, those are the matches that feel the most satisfying to win. It's like exactly. I would lose so much happiness if I didn't receive that hurt in the middle of the game,
Yeah, exactly. And if you really want to be without it, you can just work it into your start of the match routine, to mute.
Yeah, makes sense. because this is perfect that you guys might answer this. Maybe you can. Maybe you'd want to tap in Kelly or someone for this, but will first versus second player pros and cons be changed to make them more equal? And there was another question tied to this, which was, what is the win rate for going first?
I haven't checked very recently, but it actually is so tight that I think we can't change it because it is 50-50. It's like, it's less, I think it's 0.1% different or something.
Oh, wow.
Like on average, it's like much, and after we went live and got much more players, it's like got even closer to 50-50 than it was before. It was like this, it was like went up to 1% different or something, wasn't it? A little bit more. But after the release, it's actually much tighter. So
it shifts a little bit, of course, with the meta. You know, some decks are better first, others second. But I mean, it's so close. I think if we would tip it, you know, with by some game mechanic one way or the other, then we would probably be going way off.
Yeah, but I'm actually very surprised that it is this balanced, because I would have guessed that we need to do some tweaking there, especially for the second player, but it is not the case. Basically, we keep good stats of everything like this, and it's very equal every day. I mean, it shifts a bit by days, but it's always like 0.0 something percent.
Yeah, and I mean, I think like from the player perspective, like the most important thing here is to also know that, you know, this is something we look very closely at, we monitor very closely and are very aware of. We need a stronger table for the next time we put 3 mics on it, for sure. But it's good. And I saw some comments in Twitch chat saying like this is finally answered, and obviously people have been wondering about this.
Yeah, of course.
But now maybe we challenge everyone at home to just keep score and over 100 games tell us.
And I mean,
that's a good idea.
We could also, I mean, we have this in nice graphs and everything that is updated every day. So I mean, we could even just give player a screenshot of that for the last X days or something. I mean, it's no secret, I think. I mean, so it's...
That makes sense. Here's another good one. How do you suggest a new player gathers cards and competes without spending a lot of money? You know, what are, in general, you know, what are the tips for someone starting the game? How would you recommend they flesh out their collection?
It's basically achievements give players much more than they think in the beginning. We are giving, I might be saying something wrong here because I just don't remember, but it's like 400 or 500 packs that we are giving through achievements, for example, plus achievements, gold, resources, gold and stuff. So I mean, of course, it distributes over a long period of time.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think just, try to get of course, daily missions, try to finish those. And
yeah, I mean, I think you can also, I mean, if you maybe go to Discord and chat with the other players in the deck building channel, maybe go to, you know, playkards.com, check out some decks. It's really important to use your resources well, and if you get gold cards from packs in the beginning, to choose wisely what cards you create.
Yeah.
But if you are quite, you know, if you know what you're doing, you can. It's pretty easy to create competitive decks without spending a lot of money. That being said, I encourage everyone to spend a lot of money.
And I mean, go ahead.
And of course, like in the patch coming on next Wednesday, have we told players that? Next Wednesday, okay. At least when we have the import feature,
yes.
Then of course, going to sites like playkards.com, copying a deck there, then you can actually paste it in. That will give you much benefits. There are lots of decks there that are actually very cheap. You just have to craft very few cards, if any. For example, the decks that Spoos has been posting, they are great. I mean, the reason for for example, don't copy a lot of decks there are just because it's so tedious to put them in.
Yes.
So after we have this import feature, I think we will get a lot of uses there, and players will be able to take some decks and then tweak them a bit if they want to, and I think that will benefit new players a lot if they use stuff like that. So.
I think it's in many ways we are planning to do a lot to help people, taking the first steps into proper deck building. I think that making kind of those choices easier for people is one thing, other than just that they can just spend money on it.
Yeah.
Knowing what to do exactly is.
And I think there's two things that I want to touch on there. Just one, we didn't mention draft in this. That's something that popped up in chat immediately and came up when we were having this conversation this morning, which is kind of also the second thing is like we had a long conversation about this this morning, and this is something that we constantly talk about and want to work on. And because you said spent a lot of money, that's exactly one of the things that we were talking about as well. And we kind of we all agreed that like we should treat each dollar spent on the game like an investment from our community into the future of the game, right? So if you're enjoying the game and you want to support us and help us grow this game and be able to better serve you, just buying the welcome offer or something like that is a huge help for us. And if you get some good cards and have even more fun out of it, then that's just even better, right? So I just thank you for everybody that has spent already, and the rest of you, I hope you're loving the game for sure. So the deck import feature, that's something we announced this morning, and then we're actually another question here saying, are balancing updates already planned? And it says Japan is a bit overpowered.
Yes, we are balancing cards in not. I mean, we will be changing. I can say 12 cards in a
very
close. Yeah, very near future. So, and there are. I think many people are thinking about some Japanese cards, especially maybe one, and there might be a chance to that.
There might be.
Yeah. A Soviet card, one really popular card.
Yeah, there's one card that's really strong there. That's going to be changed. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, no, I mean, we're not really planning. They're not on a schedule, but I mean, we've been doing balancing changes really regularly, and we are always kind of following the meta and the balance.
Yeah, and I mean, we are making changes a lot on basically statistics. We log, of course, every move players do, and we can see win rate of every card and how much it's used in how many decks and how popular cards are and stuff. And we make, I mean, these decisions are not. It's not something that you just throw. Like, we should change this card. We actually have it's a long process because we want to try to do it correctly. So.
I mean, it's a mixture of just data that we're looking at, and then of course we are listening to the community and taking the feedback from you guys.
Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah, and I think so. I just joined the team about 2 weeks ago, and I haven't told anyone this here yet, but like, it's actually been really refreshing to come into a company that's like this size, and the players are so high up in the priority order, right? I think I've probably been shown every negative review we've received on Steam, and we've discussed it. So just know, it doesn't matter where you guys are giving your feedback, if it's on Facebook, Steam, or anywhere else, we are finding it and we're taking it in. So keep it coming. Another question here, and this is about the upcoming campaign mode. And this is going to be an interesting one. It's how much of the campaign mode will be behind the paywall, and will it give new cards similar to the Hearthstone Adventures, or is it just for single-player content? Also, how much replayability will it have?
I mean, if we start with new cards, the campaign mode will definitely add a new set of cards.
Yeah.
Quite a lot of new cards.
Ooh.
So that is, of course, one of the more exciting things about it. Replayability, I can also answer that we really tried to design the campaigns, and Kelly, our main designer on that, has been very much thinking about replayability. So hopefully the campaigns are interesting to play over and over again, and people will do that. About the paywall, you will be able to buy the campaigns also for gold.
Okay.
I'm not going to tell you exactly what the price is going to be or how it's going to be, but so the campaign will not be indefinitely locked behind your paywall with your credit card.
Yeah.
I
Awesome.
will say no more about this.
Okay. It's good to keep some mystery.
Yeah.
Another question here is asking, will we increase the number of major nationalities we can have? Like asking if they will ever be able to have France or Italy as their main nation.
To be honest, I think we will probably not add more main nations. This is both due to the fact that it is challenging to balance a lot of nations, but it is also just because if you look at the history of World War II, these 5 major powers that were involved during the whole of the war and were the biggest players, they just produced so much weaponry, so many types of tanks and aircraft and all these weapons and stuff, so way beyond any other nations. So it would be really hard if you take, for example, Italy. I mean, they had quite a lot of different tanks and aircraft and stuff like that, but we've already used 1/3 of it or half of it in first expansion. We brought them in, while as with Germans, I mean, we still have a lot of stuff for the future to tap into.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, that's also a constraint that we always need to be thinking of, unless we go into zombie Italians or French pirates or something, and who knows.
That would actually be pretty funny. Another question here, and I'm going to take a guess here and say that you can't answer this definitively, more than maybe a yes or no, but it says, will there be some sniper infantry units or battleships as a unit in the future? Are there going to be more unit types in the future? Is that something that's been...
We've actually removed 3 unit types from the alpha. So, I mean, we had more ones. So, I doubt that we will add more types. We have talked a lot about ships just during the development periods. And, I mean, for now, we see more ships coming, but they will probably be more in order form as they have been.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I mean, I think we're quite happy with how the naval aspect of the game is represented. I mean, I think you really get the feel that you are playing with some submarines and battleships and stuff in there as well. So, I mean, we just don't want to have tanks fighting against submarines or things like that. It just doesn't make sense.
A submarine in the front line or something like that.
Infantry charging on an aircraft carrier, it just doesn't work.
Although it makes for pretty entertaining visuals,
Exactly. I mean, we have all kinds of pretty abstract mechanics in our game, but that would be a little bit too far, I think.
I get you. Another question here is around the card history when you're in game. It says, are there plans to be able to read the card history while playing against someone? And I'm guessing that's like further back than what we already have, scrollable card history or something like that. Is that something we've looked at?
I think it sits really well in the collection, where you can take your time to dig into it. I think while you're playing a battle, I mean, that is not really the time to be diving into the history. So we don't have any plans to add it into the battle scene. One thing, because there was in the earlier question there was something about a sniper also.
Yes.
Just wanted to come into that because we've had requests for machine gun teams or things like that, or even ammunition, and the sniper is a little bit like that. It's on a different scale a bit. That's why we don't have these things. So we are looking at, each tank, for example, represents like a battalion or division of tanks, or it's on a bit of a bigger scale. Like you can kind of see from the markings on the infantry units and stuff like that. So these are like bigger units, not individual machine gun teams or things like that.
And if I may talking about types, that we will not be adding types. There is actually one type that has gotten a lot of discussion in-house that is not planned for the near future, but might come later. I don't know if you want to mention them, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean, we have been talking a lot about infrastructures, whatever they will final name will be, which is like you could have a hospital or whatever, like something bigger things on the battlefield than just units. But that's it's not coming in the next 1 or 2 expansions.
It's the first time I'm hearing about this.
Yeah.
Sounds very interesting.
So I mean, we have something in the game. There is a lot of stuff, of course, that we have thought about and have designed, and some of them are, of course, in the game. Some of them are like in a backlog. Some of them has been scrapped totally. But we have a lot of stuff that we are really thinking about. But when if those things will happen is of course we can't answer that because we just don't know.
Yeah,
makes sense.
In earlier prototypes, we had like cards that were infrastructure and technology or something like that. It was so you could have like research your radar stations to higher levels and all kinds of things like that.
And we had many types of resources. It was not only credit. You had like oil and food and other stuff that was actually your resources, and a lot of changes in the beginning.
So it was way more complex at some point.
Yeah.
Way more moving parts. No, that's actually crazy. I mean, we can preface everything that we say in this AMA is like, we want to do this to just have an open conversation and stay close to the community. There's no guarantees being made here, but just teasers.
Yeah.
Oh.
All right. Here is a question that is asking, what's it like working at 1939 Games?
Oh, no. It's great. I mean, I mean, can't be better, I think.
Working with really talented and good people on fun projects, I mean, it's just a dream.
Yeah. And I mean, I can maybe answer this question as well because I'm the latest person to join the team. So maybe I have the freshest input. But so far, it's been awesome. So first off, like, thank you guys for letting me be a part of the team, and thank you community for allowing me to be a part of this journey. Like I said earlier, I come from CCP first, and then Riot Games. When I was at Riot, it's constantly like players first, and it's something that you don't really get intrinsically in a lot of game companies. So when I came in here and we started having these conversations about how we should do things and how we should think about this and this, immediately it just felt like home. Right, it's like for the past 2.5 weeks that I've been with the team, I've been excited to wake up and come to work every morning, and so it's awesome, at least from my perspective. And I see Thomas, everybody's favorite, has written a comment in here that says it is awesome, so he agrees as well.
Yeah, I mean, it was really good to get you on the team. Of course, you were working with us earlier a bit on the World Championship.
Yeah.
So some of our players might know your handsome face.
I mean, I didn't even comb my hair today, It's,
I didn't know I would sit here until like after this broadcast started. So.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that, Ari. So when the next technical feature that doesn't make it in, you just blame me for robbing your 2 hours now. Awesome. So another question here, and we were all at CCP, so I think this is fun to answer, the 3 of us. How does the former experience at CCP translate over to KARDS and this gaming company, this venture?
I mean, the experience we had there was, it's a huge benefit. I mean, CCP is a great company, and I loved working there. I decided to join Gummi, which was basically only him when I joined. So well, and Ivar, and that it was. I mean, the main difference is the size. I mean, it was great to go into something smaller and start from the beginning. But I mean, the experience we had at CCP was, I mean, extremely good, because the experience of especially what you shouldn't do is so valuable. It's yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, both things that we knew how to do, and like Ari says, things we knew how not to do that we learned there. Of course, also the network that we acquired by working there for such a long time has also been hugely beneficial for us. We've been able to tap into a lot of specialists in all kinds of things that don't work for the company directly. Mm-hmm. So I mean, I would say it's definitely has helped us a lot, the experience.
I think it's also, CCP has just it's generated a lot of knowledgeable people about this industry. I mean, I don't think it's a surprise that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 of us, 7 of us were at CCP at some point. Yeah, like hello Blue, I just got shouted out in chat, so I just need to answer. All right, let me find some other questions. There was one big one that I think we're gonna tackle in a bit. There's two big ones. I'm just seeing if we can get through the easy ones first, Ooh, can we be able to see the card exiled with the Sendai regiment? It's like a clear, distinct ask.
That's a clear answer.
There is a clear answer, yes. There is a patch on Wednesday, and it will be there.
Boom. See, I think a lot of the stuff that's coming up here, and this is something that I've also been happy, and I've said this since I joined, it's like a lot of the comments and questions and requests we're seeing is stuff that we already have fairly far along, and I'm really happy to see that. So keep your feedback coming, guys, so we keep knowing that we are on the right track. Now let's jump over into kind of the big questions. So there's two big questions here. One is matchmaking, and the other is resistance, right? These are two big topics.
Okay, shall we get Keli?
I did a pretty long conversation with Keli about this earlier to get his complete input as well, so I can probably relay some of that here. But let's start with, will the matchmaking system ever be changed to consider the rank of the nation instead of hit an MMR? And just in general, obviously we can't go into detail about the matchmaking system and the ranking system because that just makes it open for exploiting. But can we talk a little bit about the matchmaking system and what we're thinking about?
Yes, I mean, the matchmaking is, as everybody knows, an Elo-based system. Of course, we tweak it a bit to our needs, but in the end, it is basically an Elo system. So we have safety nails for new players. There are just hard-coded limitation on who we can face in the first matches. I can just say it in the first 10, 15 matches, I don't remember what it was, then you can't face anybody else with more matches than that, and we have a few buckets like that you actually are limited to that. We are making tweaks to the system regularly, every month at least, where we tweak some numbers there. I mean, and we are tweaking it a bit actually in the coming patch, and that will make some changes to it. But I mean, in general, of course, the problem with Elo system is, of course, if it's a perfect match, then you win 50% of your matches, because then you always match against a player that is equally good as you. I mean, of course, there are some high-end players, and that basically almost always end up against somebody worse, basically. So,
Yeah.
but there are lots of, I mean, you are not just match against anybody. There are lots of limits. We want to tighten it a bit, and with more players, we are always like for example, the elo gap that can be between players is always, we are reducing it like very regularly.
Yeah.
But I mean, it is actually quite narrow at the moment, and we are seeing basically good matches there.
I think it is in a much better place than it was a few months ago.
Definitely.
Definitely. But I mean, it's always a challenge. I mean, let's say you have like a new player that is not really that experienced with card games, and you have another player that maybe comes in, has the same elo. They're both, newbies in our game, but another one has, one of them has massive experience in card games and maybe spends a lot of money at the beginning, has more cards, and they land together. I mean, that's not going to be fair. I mean, if we would match by nations, like was asked in the question, that would also be problematic. I mean, you could have then like someone that is field marshal in all nations, a really experienced player, but hasn't been playing one nation, but has all the cards there, has a strong deck and is a good player, and is matched with a relatively new player.
Just tears through the entire...
In that nation, so I think, matching by nations would also be really challenging. It would at least always result in some matches where people would not feel that it's fair.
Yeah.
But it's really challenging.
I think there's also one thing that like a lot of people don't realize, and this is an issue I know in a lot of games that rely on matchmaking, and that's, at different points in the ladder, you oftentimes need like different criteria to match people, together, right? And you have to deal with different things, like different number of available players, and you have to think about queue times, and like it's a balance between, multiple factors to try and make the game, feel good. And sometimes you have to like let the elo gap be a little bit bigger so that you're not waiting for an hour and a half, and it's a complex system.
And that's why, for example, I mean, the reason I've seen, like, when I watch stream of players that are actually in the top, I see often that they wait longer than I am. I'm not in the top, basically, when I'm playing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and the reason for that is that, I mean, let's say I have elo of something, 2,000 or whatever, to say a number, then I can be matched against somebody that has 100 lower than me or 100 higher than me. But if I'm at the top, then it's of course just go one way. So the gap is actually just 100 there instead of 200. These numbers are all basically bullshit. But I mean, but the gap is just half the size, and therefore, like, the top players might often wait longer. But I mean, I think the waiting time now is, I just don't remember what it is now, but it's actually not that long, and you rarely see games where we have where you're offered the AI match after the minute. I mean,
I haven't played an AI match since release, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it went down to 0.2% of games or something that went into that. From much higher number. So
I remember waiting for that minute mark just to get the freeload. It's like, yes, play versus AI for sure.
Well, you don't want it if you're climbing the officer club, because you don't get those points there. So
yes, yeah, and I mean, in general, you just, when you inflate your elo anyway by playing against an AI opponent, you're probably going to end up with a crash at some point.
Your elo doesn't change in AI matches. I can just say that.
Okay. It's good to know. Good to know. All right, so let's go into the other thing, and this is a widely debated topic, and it's a divisive one, and that's resistance cards. So the question here is, will we get a change to how resistance or their cards function in the future? Why are deck locking mechanisms like resistance in the game? Couldn't France be done differently? Are you planning on making any changes?
So we don't have any like major reworks on the roadmap of this. like Keli has said earlier in some dev blogs or somewhere, I don't remember, maybe on Discord or something. I think how he worded it was that, we are fine with having these kinds of mechanisms in the game, like the resistance mechanism or discard, for example, also is another example of
closer to the mic.
Yeah. So the main concern for us is that these mechanics are not too strong, or these archetypes of decks, and so I think we will be rather trying to balance them better than to completely remove them, or because a lot of players like to play these decks as well, and I think it can be fun.
Yeah, so I'm going to jump in here and I'm going to add the context that Keli gave me earlier, right? So when he was talking about that, he mentioned a few different things. He said, number one, we can't just play too much around the historical facts, right? We want to ground, what the nation represents in history. So that the French resistance was a huge part of that, and that kind of developed into this playstyle. He said everything that you said. Basically, we want to balance it, and we want it to be a part of the game, but it shouldn't be, necessarily too overwhelming. He also acknowledged, hey, this is something that we're keeping an eye on, and it's not like we're saying, it's going to be like this, exactly like this forever. There are counterplay options available, even though it's really hard for you to always have them with you or draw them when you need them. And then the last thing that he kind of touched on as well is, as the game grows as well, and we add in new units and new types of decks, that also increases the level of counterplay that this will have in the future.
Yeah.
So, we don't have the finished game right now in front of us, so we can't really say if it's going to be overpowered or strong, even in a patch or two, right? Because we don't know.
Yeah, exactly. And another example of this, how things develop over time, instead of us, totally revamping things. We know of certain issues and we listen to the feedback. And another example is a common type of decks that has been complained a bit about is the burn deck, the Japanese burn deck, and we are slowly introducing into various different nations cards who deal a little bit with that, and I think we've already tackled the burn decks a bit. They're not as dominating as they were, and we are adding some in the campaign, some cards who also interact with that. So, these changes happen more gradually than just us knee-jerking something in.
Yeah. So personally, the deck I'm currently playing, I love facing resistance decks because it's completely based on Commando number 10, number 10 Commando and number 43 Commando. So you just gave me like 8 1-cost spells orders. So I had a pretty awesome combo the other day, and it was so satisfying. I probably smiled for like 30 minutes because, and it was one of those things. It was like he played the resistance card that filled my hand with everything, and then did the taunt, and I was like, I was so good. I'm gonna check with chat here to see if they feel like this has been answered or if they want a specific clarification, because I know this is a divisive topic. So I think, this is most of the stuff that we had coming in through the Reddit thread. So I'm going to ask the chat to kind of throw us some questions now. If there's any clarification that you guys want on the resistance side, please ask that in chat now. If there's any other stuff that you want to ask, then do that. There has been a few follow-up questions about the Navy, other unit types, and just to recap that, we basically put most of the Navy battleship, aircraft carrier stuff into orders so that you wouldn't have a submarine in the front line or infantry charging an aircraft carrier or something like that. So yeah, everybody's like, cool, okay. All right, any other questions from chat? I'm getting praised for remembering the number of the commandos. Any other questions? Any new bundles coming?
Like in the store?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, we're working on some stuff there. and some hopefully not in too far into the future, some additional objects, you know, props on the table and stuff like that as well.
Okay. A bunch of stuff coming. Any new patches soon? Yes, there's a patch very soon. Any new unit types in the plans? No, not yet, but we did touch on that a little bit earlier with the infrastructure stuff that you guys teased a little bit, like way down the line, something that we're looking at. Reconnect and spectate feature, yes, both planned. See, these are always the same questions. Definitely we've listened. Future of KARDS esports. Cool. Can I answer that one?
Yes, go ahead.
I actually think there are a few competitive questions here that I can just go into. So actually, we can announce something, right? And I think Thomas, as soon as I say this, is going to push the announcement live on Steam. But starting from, you know, the results this month in the Officers Club, we're going to have a top 8 Officers Club invitational tournament every month, where we get the 8 top-ranked players in KARDS, and they fight it out for their share of a $1,000 prize pool every month. I'm just gonna let that sit out there for a second, and I'm gonna watch what chat says. Just holy hell! First, yep, cool, nice. All right, so if you guys are on the brink, I mean, right now it's Friday the 29th of May. If you are ranked number 9 right now on the ladder, you need to log in and start playing, and start grinding that out. But I want to start by giving a little bit more context about this. So we're starting with the top 8 because we're still a very small team. We don't want to rush into, you know, expanding the tournament into large numbers and fail. Instead, we want to grow it over time. This is also, you know, only the first step when it comes to tournaments. And there are different initiatives. So one might be, you know, official championship type tournaments like the World Championships, the monthly Officer Club Championships or something like that. But we're also working on community tournament support. We're also working on the technical side of how we can make it easier and better to run tournaments in the community. How we're going to support those tournaments with prizing and logistical support. And we're also kind of for later on, I think this is penciled in around August, you know, in the roadmap as it is. We're looking to have, you know, some sort of tournament features out that we can then build onto. And in the end, we want to have, you know, in-client tournaments where you can, at any skill level, get that true thrill of competition through KARDS.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's kind of, I would say, the high-level rundown on the esports side of things. There are some awesome community tournaments being run. I believe there's a national cup that Maddie GG is running, and Spoos, I think, as well. They're doing awesome things there. We also have some content stuff coming up. So we're actually going to be doing more of this type of stuff, kind of streams, AMAs, dev streams, more articles featuring... I'm just going to say it. We're going to be doing a deck of the week thing. We already kind of announced that on Discord. Yeah. So the point there is to kind of start surfacing these meta decks a little bit and making sure that people can understand what cards to go for so they can be more deliberate in creating their collection. And many more things to come. So if there's anything that you guys at home want to see us do more of, then by all means, let us know. Cool. All right, any other questions? Any plans to reward the top 100 in Officers Club? Draft tokens, gold, something?
It's not something we've kind of planned, but we'll definitely consider it.
Yeah, okay. Anything else? Gold cards should be animated. Do we want to animate the gold cards? Is that something we've thought about at some point?
Definitely thought about it. Yeah. The thing is, we have a lot of artwork in a lot of different styles, and it comes from a lot of different sources. You know, we are not creating all the artwork ourselves, so we don't have it in endless, you know, layers from the get-go, which makes it much easier to do this kind of animation work. But we definitely want to play around with it, and we have played around a little bit with it. But I think it will probably not be the gold cards, so we will not make animated versions of all the cards.
Okay.
But I think we will definitely have animated cards, some select cards. I don't know exactly what the context will be, but we'll get there at some point.
And talking about gold cards, I mean, we will at some point tweak the look a bit on them, like make them a little bit more.
Yeah.
A little bit more gold.
They're a little bit half-baked, kind of. We got them to a certain level, and then our focus kind of shifted because we are constantly shifting our focus, what to do next, or trying to do the most important things, and gold cards kind of fell off the wagon, but they will be revisited definitely.
There's a follow-up around gold cards here, and that's, will we be able to craft gold cards anytime soon? So I guess somebody has a lot of resources.
That's a good question. We haven't thought about it really, to my knowledge.
It's great. We're gonna think about it now.
Yeah.
We're gonna think about it now.
It involves somehow giving us a lot of money. Then I see no reason why we can't invent something for that.
So there's two questions here about draft. One is there how about a ranking system for draft, or like a top ranking for draft? And then the other one is, how does the matchmaking work in draft? Is it random?
No, it's not random. It's but it's not based on play time at the moment with a little star at the end, asterisk at the end. But I mean, usually it's number of matches, games you have won. Basically, it's you play against somebody, you have won 5 games. You end up with somebody that has played 5 games. But that being said, it can be shifted like 1 up or down if there are few people waiting and stuff like that. We have a newbie protection a bit. It is 2-way at the moment. You basically get discount on the score for the first X matches. It is rather low at the moment. I mean, you basically the score is lowered by 1 or 2, and it's only in I probably lying, but around 10 games or something. Okay. So I mean, we want to make the newbie experience a bit better, but else it is basically, if you're on your 6th game, you're very likely to hit somebody that is actually with a good deck. I mean, and that's how it should be. It has there is no elo involved when we are matchmaking there.
Okay.
One thing I can mention just from the top of my head, but since we're talking about draft, we have been thinking about changing draft in a way that we might increase the number of games.
Say that a little bit closer to the microphone.
Yeah, drifting away.
Slowly. You're answering a question that was literally just asked. So
yeah. Okay, that's great. So we've thought about increasing the number of games in the draft up to maybe 9 games to make it a little bit more exciting. Harder to complete. Full set of wins. So that's something we've been discussing. We don't have it on the roadmap at the moment.
No, but it is kind of ready if we pull the trigger. Basically, we actually done all the work that is needed. Kind of, we didn't want to push it to the release. It was a little bit too risky to put into the release. And then after the release, we said we can't change it right after the release. We have to wait for some time to see. But it's very likely, I would say, that at some point in the future, and hopefully, in my mind at least, it won't be that long until we go to 9 games.
Okay, makes sense. Any way to fix visual glitches that cause units to merge into the HQ or become untargetable? Are there any workarounds we know of? Or we're obviously looking into it, but like...
I get mad when we talk about these merging cards.
I do too.
We definitely want
to get rid of that, obviously.
And there is no workaround that we know about, but I mean, we are looking at all these graphical issues, and of course, I mean, in the rare cases that we get untargeted units, that is of course not acceptable. But I mean, a lot of these issues happen about is based on basically bad connections and stuff. But we are looking into these issues, and I mean it just takes time to fix them.
So I think that's I'm gonna call it around this point for the questions. What I want now is, because we're here, we have the community basically in the Twitch chat talking to us directly. I want to just see if there's any feedback that they want to give us that we can just read out and react to, in real time.
Sounds
So
good.
I mean, if you guys have any comments or feedback about the game, whether it's thank you for making a great game, or you need to fix this or something like that, post it in chat now. I kind of want to just read it out here and get your direct input while we're here live with you, directly towards us. I would like to thank Thomas for being wholesome.
That's a good one.
I think Thomas might be the nicest person I know.
Yeah, definitely. The most positive person I think I've ever met.
I agree. I think have you ever seen Thomas in a bad mood?
No. Has he been in a bad mood ever?
I don't know. I think we need to ask.
I think if he's watching, he's probably blushing now.
Thomas is great. I love all of the card artwork. Is it all vintage reuse, or are you commissioning originals?
We are commissioning a bits and pieces here and there of unit types that we want to add to the game that we are unable to find elsewhere. But mostly it's World War II posters and stuff like that from original stuff, and then like aviation art and model box art from the 80s, from Matchbox and Airfix and things like that. We also licensed a lot from War Picture Library, which was like a comic series that went on for decades in the UK, and they had these really nice cover images. So especially for the British and German, you see quite a lot of those. So there are bits and pieces from here and there, but most of it is licensed. But I would think maybe like 20% perhaps is commissioned or done by us.
Awesome. Reconnect button, please. It's one comment. Yes, we're working on it. Thomas is great. No duplicate on cards would be great, but that means less money for them.
What's this thing with Thomas? I mean, he's not even here, and he's stealing our thunder.
Thomas! He doesn't hear me. He has his headphone on. I would love, Thomas, can you come? I want Thomas to come here, and I just want you guys to come. Just say hello.
I think the community wants Thomas more than me.
Okay.
Hey, what's the Thomas?
Thomas, come join us.
Oh my goodness! No.
Welcome.
What?
See, you guys ask for Thomas, we give you Thomas.
All right, that's enough, right?
I'm going to keep reading out the feedback that we're getting here. Thank you for creating a historical great card game. It's been long needed, and thank you for putting yourself out there to answer our questions and interact with your community. Our pleasure.
Yeah, definitely. Both on making the historical card game and being here. Awesome.
Yeah, so Big Dog here, missed the intros. My name is Ólafur. I am working on esports content and influencers. With us was our CTO, Ari. This is Thomas, our community... Thomas. Community Thomas. And our creative director, Guðmundur Kristjánsson, one of the founders of the company. I'd like to thank you for asking me to join the internal tester team. Thank you for being an internal tester. Keep up the good work. I agree, faction packs, even if more expensive, would be nice for people wanting to build up a single nation. More animations, please.
We're working on that.
I love you guys. I have over 1,300 hours in the game and excited to put in another 1,300.
Wow,
This is
that's
from
awesome.
Blue Blasted. Thank you, Blue.
Thank you.
And just thank you for being a contributor in the community. Streaming and giving off your knowledge. That is greatly appreciated. Thomas is a great PR dude. Great.
Says who?
So Uber Wizard, I'm sorry, I'm gonna skip that. It's a really long question. We'll definitely take it in the next AMA. 15 gold for national pack instead of 10 gold. Any leaks that can be given about the squad stuff? I think no. We can't really leak anything about that.
No, not other than that. No specifics. But what we want to do is encourage people to work together.
Yep. And then I love how much effort you put into content and community interaction. Probably the best dev team I have had the pleasure of knowing. Thank you. And then basically all of the chat just devolved into shouting Thomas.
That's crazy.
There's also asking KARDS merch. Where can I buy some KARDS merchandise?
Yeah, that's a good question. You can't, basically. That's
Do you want to buy KARDS merchandise? Like people in chat, would you buy it?
And
what kind of?
What? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes. That's the first answer. Yes.
Well, that's
I want KARDS merch.
That's pretty clear.
See, people almost want KARDS merch as much as they want Thomas. So I'd say it's pretty good
we'll
market validation.
I'm out of here. I'm not for clone. No.
I mean, we've made some physical card packs and stuff like that we've used as promo items and things like that, and as rewards for tournaments. So that is definitely something we could expand on.
I love this, Thomas. I'm really sorry that I pulled you into this, but like now the biggest ask here is shirts with Thomas, bobbleheads of Thomas.
I love it. Can I have some too?
It just keeps on coming. Just keeps on coming.
Bobblehead. I mean, I think.
That's awesome.
Have my little coffee mug.
Freddy98, what is the squad announcement that you guys made on the roadmap? We can't really say right now. Stay tuned for sure. I want a Bismarck poster under my marriage bed. All right. I think we've been here for an hour now answering these questions. It's been super fun. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you Thomas for randomly jumping in and joining us.
I have a question too.
Yes.
When is the next AMA?
It's a good question. How like I think we should probably do this monthly.
Yeah.
I think we should do it once a month.
Sounds good.
And I mean, what's the community saying?
Was
it good? Was it bad? Do you want some more of that? Or
should we have beer also? Tell us.
Monthly is good. More. Thomas with the big brain questions. This is why he gets paid the big bucks. This is why Thomas is where he's at in life. He asks the hard hitting questions. Monthly beer, very
Monthly
good.
beer,
AMA
what?
needs more beer.
Only monthly?
That's clear.
I don't know.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I mean, we'll do it next month. We'll definitely do it next month.
Yeah, sounds good.
And I think there's so much stuff that's going to be happening next month in June. June is going to be packed. We have the D-Day event that I'm super excited about. It was like, I guess, my first idea that I had as I walked in the door and completely derailed all your plans for D-Day by adding a bunch of stuff and technical work for Ari. So I'm really excited about that. And then we have the first Officers Club monthly tournament. It's going to be happening in June as well. What else? We have the deck import feature.
Mm-hmm.
What more?
And of course the
Campaigns.
Big thing.
Balance patch. So much stuff. So yeah, I'll have you, Ari, press stop stream for us on that computer after I say goodbye to our beautiful community. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us for this first ever AMA. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your ongoing passion and dedication to KARDS. And let's ride this journey together for the years to come. Thank you.